responsible and appropriate? Because my sense of acceptable is a list of do's and don'ts, whereas responsible and appropriate is informed professional decisions about what you're doing.
I have no
think
problem
that's the
with that.
direction we want to drive in, instead of monitoring everyone's
Right.
acceptable behavior.
Right.
What did you call, someone called it net etiquette?
Netiquette.
Netiquette, the idea of how we behave online and in that environment.
New word.
And also,
All right,
under,
so let me
What would
make
be
sure
your
that-
word?
so delete acceptable
Wait,
in the
hold
title,
just one second.
So make it responsible
and appropriate.
and appropriate, okay.
And then also, under the purpose, item B, if we could add, so that reads, to ensure that CCPS computer systems are used in an appropriate, comma, safe manner. If we could add responsible,
Inappropriate?
yes.
Okay?
Okay,
So you're going to hold that for 30 days and,
yes.
See
okay?
if there are any comments.
Anything else?
I know that in the social media committee that was formed, this policy was just, we discussed this ad nauseum, and I think everybody was, at that time, said this is not really the place to
Right.
incorporate this is sufficient.
Correct. And, but with the procedures.
With
And
the
they
procedures.
actually have talked about changing the social media committee's name to digital learning,
Okay.
so that we can encompass, because social media just dealt with
Right. The outreach part, or yeah.
the communication
Yeah.
piece out to the community, where digital learning has a lot of input right here in the building and how
Right.
we're going to incorporate digital learning.
And the devices and.
Correct. Okay.
Anything else on those two items? Okay, if not, policies for discussion. Nancy, you-
Okay, the first policy for
115,
discussion. We had a long discussion about our gun policy, and then we were looking at hand gestures and pictures of guns and what policy that those possibly could fall under. And our staff looked at two policies. One, policy statement 1115 regarding disruptive behavior on property at Calvert County Public Schools, and the other policy 1118, not that one. Sorry, just the disruptive behavior. And thinking that there was a possibility that this would fall under those, this policy, talking about hand gestures and pictures of guns and the intimidation, the threat, the trust of those pieces.
Right.
So to the extent that if something happened, like a similar situation that we've all talked about with lookalikes, that this would be the appropriate policy for the administrator to turn to
For disruptive behavior.
for disruptive behavior. So that they still have a response available to them, but they're not
It doesn't have to fall under a weapons
weapons.
policy.
Okay, excellent.
Absolutely. Because if you look at the definitions, danger and dangerous, disruptive, intimidating, aggressive behavior that causes another to be fearful, and that was that whole threat piece.
Right.
So the procedures then would try to mirror what we attempted to do with the weapons, which means that the response will be age appropriate, the response will be common sense, and the like.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
We certainly don't want any kind of hardwired.
Do the procedures for this policy currently reflect that kind of response?
No,
No,
they
okay.
do not. And so that would be,
Emphasis on common sense.
so that would be, we would have to bring this up, this is just for discussion. We could bring this up for approval, and then we could look at changing those procedures. So, but I really think this would be the policy that we would need to really look at and possibly.
So I move that the Board of Education bring forward policy 1115 for review.
Do we need a motion to that?
I think we do, because it's out of the
Okay.
3-year, it's outside the 3-year cycle.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
coming out of that cycle.
All right, Mr. Byer makes a motion. Got a second?
Second.
Ms. Belinsky seconds. Any further discussion?
Only that, so we'll review it, it will come up for our review at our next, not next meeting, but the first meeting in December, be posted for 30 days, and then in January would be our, okay, I just wanted to get the timeline.
Anything else?
Well, this needs, this is where we could accept public input as well,
Absolutely.
so people might need to, Kelly, you guys are in discussion a lot with people out there, that help them take a look at this. The thing that's different about this, that where it says regarding disruptive behavior, we're talking about people who come onto our campus who may not be students.
Correct?
This is not, this is mostly, the way this reads, and the procedure, it's mostly not our students. It is people that can be removed and that can, you can request that they are not allowed back on campus. So it's some kind of law enforcement, what do you call it, restraining order, like thing. So this is this is a little bit different.
Can I say one thing? I'm sorry.
Yes.
The reason we pulled up 1118, and it says discrimination in the policy, but the procedure, and I believe it was point 1, was harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And that was the other one that but that's a procedure that we were looking at that might contain wording that would, hand gestures could be considered as harassment, intimidation, or bullying versus the 1115. That was why we had come up with the other one, the 1118, even though I'm looking here at the policy and it doesn't really indicate that that would in any way cover these issues, but if you get to the procedure under that one, it possibly could, because you could consider, and it deals with students being harassed, intimidated, or bullying, and that's where we thought maybe hand gestures or pictures at that point would be concerns or causes of the harassment or intimidation. So I'm not sure, and I should have printed that one out for you, I apologize.
As part of the review, I mean, we could pull the other one forward as well. And
Correct.
at our next meeting, we could
Sure.
ask for some staff recommendation on which way to move forward on it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether to add language to 1115 to be more specifically inclusive of students and staff in the schools, or to focus on the discrimination.
1118.
So is that, can that be part of the direction to staff, is to kind of guide us
Absolutely.
next month on which way to move forward?
Absolutely.
But on 1115, we have a motion on the floor now. Are you ready to
Oh, sorry.
put the question? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Now we're going on.
Okay, and I also, for discussion, I would suggest policy 118 to be reviewed and also opened up for public comment.
Do we need a motion for that too then?
Make a motion.
Ms. McConkey?
Second?
Second, Ms. Polinsky. Any further discussion to open it? If not, I'll put the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, and the
Thank you.
last piece, and it's not really policy, but I know that we had our weapons policy approved, but we also then the staff has been working on the procedures. And I'd like to share with you, these are printed copies because different pieces have been highlighted. The yellow
We need more.
have been added.
Need another?
Oh, no, there are more.
The yellow has been added, anything in yellow, and that would be under definitions. C was look-alike weapons. Any implement visible or concealed possessed under a circumstance that would reasonably lead a person to believe it was a weapon or would be used as a weapon. All those in purple, these were looked upon actually through COMAR and law. Anything in red, well, we can go back to what was added under weapon possession by students. Letter B, if a student possesses a firearm on school property, the student will be expelled for a minimum of 1 calendar year. C, any student who possesses or in possession of a weapon other than a firearm firearm on school property may be expelled from Calvert County Public Schools. And then anything that is in red, under D, we took out of the suspension and reason for it. It said, "We'll make every reasonable effort to notify the parent or guardian in a timely manner." So we took out suspension.
Okay,
And
wait,
then-
I'm sorry, this says B, if you possess a firearm, you will be expelled for a year.
Minimum of 1 year.
A minimum. And
So what if it's a Civil War? Well, I mean, we're getting into this again. This is like no room for anyone to use common sense.
But I think that's a law. I don't think
Is it?
we can do anything about it.
Firearm.
I understand
that's-
firearm, but what if? What if it's?
But we can't change it because it's the
Correct.
law. We
The
can't
law,
change the law.
Comar says that, the law states that we have to, but that means they have a real gun, not a look-alike. The definition
The
is,
firearm.
that's why they added the look-alike weapon.
What are you talking about, if they bring an antique Civil
Yeah.
War gun? Well,
But remember what the definition of a firearm is.
I'm looking at, yeah.
if it's operable,
It
Correct.
doesn't say operable. It just says anything that may be converted, readily converted to expel a projectile.
By an action of an explosive.
What is the definition of timely manner?
quick.
And so,
As soon as possible, timely manner.
and I know kids are supposed to know that if you go hunting on the weekend, you're not supposed to have your rifle in the back of your car.
Correct.
But if they do, they're immediately expelled for a year.
They could be, yes.
Have we had instances like this?
No. No, we have not.
Because if it was the law, we would have had to do it, period, right?
Now, we still have until December to change the procedures. I mean, we had 60 days, so this is the first, this was what came back from the staff on these changes. So if we want to make changes, we certainly can. We have until December 10th, that's what I thought it was.
Well, the world has changed. When I was in Somerset County, kids had when hunting and fishing, they had the stuff, pick up a truck, have it run in a gun rack.
Absolutely.
Not anymore.
Okay, Ms. Belinsky, if you look at the last page where it says look-alike weapons possession by students, if a principal determines that there'd be an investigation, they may warn the student, may place the student in ISS or ISI, may suspend, may complete a request for extension. So this
That
is
gives them a
where
lot of latitude.
Yeah.
that
Right.
gives the principals a lot of latitude.
So they're
here.
able to do this with alcohol in here?
Correct. It would
It's
be
called
up
good
to-
sense.
This is where we were trying to get the common sense piece, teachable moment, looking at,
Right.
what the actual incident was.
This was all added new, right?
That's, yes, and it also, that's why it's in yellow, but it also follows Comar.
And
And-
also much in discussion is notification of parents when
Yes.
there is an investigation. Where would we put something like that if we were going to try to put something in to say, if, especially in the younger years, in the younger ages? If there's an investigation underway, parents should be notified.
Well,
Isn't that a given?
No, it hasn't been.
I think under where they took out, may request police assistance and will make every reasonable effort to notify the parent or guardian in a timely
Yeah, that
manner.
handles
I think,
It's pretty vague, though. I mean,
it.
well,
timely manner could be 8 hours to you, it could be 15 minutes to somebody else.
but that's where, again, I talked a lot about investigations and not every investigation, and I can tell you, there have been times when we start investigating and if we call a parent right away, sometimes parents say, don't talk to them and we can't complete our investigations. So we're in a catch-22 there.
The law says you can talk to them.
Oh, absolutely we
Well,
can.
then,
That's for sure.
I don't see any, I understand that you would need a clean investigation. I understand that. and that you don't want to rile a parent or get a parent spun up if it turns out to be nothing.
Nothing, correct.
And that's, if you're sitting in DC and all of a sudden you find that your child is under investigation, of course you want to jump in your car and leave. But I also believe that this is a big concern to parents.
It is.
And so is there a way to frame it, to phrase it so that you could say, a parent will be notified, within 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever, and told that we are conducting an investigation. We do not know all the facts now. We do have the right to talk to your child, which we will be doing. You're welcome to come, but we cannot let you be a part of the process until we have made our determination on. So, is that not?
Right.
Does that impinge too much on the principal and the administrators who were trying to get to the bottom of an issue?
Yes.
Probably does, yes, I would
Yes.
think.
You think it does?
Well, because I would come and take my child. We're at
Well, I
it.
think that's what the administrators don't want is they don't want the parents sitting in the office because then it just makes it even a bigger issue. Like, you know what I mean? It's hard to investigate a student. Now you have parents sitting in the office and I don't know. And then something else could happen. You could have another, and then I don't know.
Well, let's say you have a 10-year-old. You would want to be there. At least be on your way. I don't know. I do
I
see it as a
think-
concern.
Because we're putting in this as a procedure, I think we could look at, looking at different levels of elementary,
Yes.
middle, and high
Yes.
school.
I think that's
And that,
perfectly
and I
reasonable.
can certainly go back to staff and say, can we look at being a little bit more specific about the different educational levels and how they want to proceed with that?
Yeah, I think it's a big difference from
Yeah.
elementary to
Yeah.
middle and from middle to
Or a
high.
kindergarten
Something in
versus a
here
senior.
needs to have a little bit of
Yeah.
different
But if
rules.
something happens on a school bus on the way to school with 30 elementary school age students, is each of those students' parents called because we'll be questioning your child as part of this investigation?
If they're questioned.
That's
they should
impossible.
If they're questioned,
But
every one of them
that's-
should be
but that-
notified.
Well, and I get that,
Yeah.
that everyone should be. But then again, when you have an elementary school with one principal, one vice principal, and a part-time dean, where's your personnel coming from
Right.
to do
Make
that?
those phone calls within a set time frame.
And
Well,
then the time frame itself, you can't meet because,
Well,
you
you
know,
always have to look at it as what if it was your child? How would you feel?
I understand.
I know if somebody questioned my fourth grader, I'd be very upset.
But we have that right as a school system.
Well, I'm saying without being notified,
Policies.
without being notified about
We
it.
talk to your kids all the time without being notified. We have that
Legally,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
We have that right as we
But
become.
you know the kid's gonna go home and
parentis
tell their
locus.
parents that they were questioned. If they
But we
weren't
would
notified.
definitely, before those children go home, we would
Right.
call those parents and say, we talked
Right.
with your child today. This happened on the bus. We brought Johnny down and we talked to him about this, and this. We most definitely would be making those calls. I can't say that we can do that within a specific time
Sure.
frame. And because we have the authority of parentis locus. We become the surrogate parent when those children walk through the door. And when they walk through the door, they're our responsibility. And I'm hoping that parents will trust us enough that we're not the bullies here. We just want to find out what's going on. And to do that, we need to be able to talk to a lot of different students to get the true picture of what happened. The worst thing we can do is not do a thorough investigation and then make a rash decision on something, and we're not giving any of our students then due diligence. And I think we need to be very cognizant of the procedures, but we can't pinpoint something in the procedure that ties the administration's hands at the school.
Well, Comar is very clear.
Ed, you're over there. I'd like to hear from you, Ed.
I just think, like, after talking to the administrators, I think in order to add any more timelines, I think it sends the message that that we don't have the trust that our administrators will make the right decision. And what happened is we appoint these people to these positions, the tax dollars pay them, and I think we say that we trust their rational decision making, and that they will. I mean, we know that they're out for the best interest of the kids. So I think I don't really recommend any further changes to the procedures.
I agree with you. Good comment. Anything? You don't need action on this.
No, we don't need action. We just, as I said, we have until December 10th for
Very
this.
good changes made there, I think.
And I guess it's, one of the things that we can do is just talk about it as a school system, and you said you've already done that a lot to the principals, to just say, you know,
Okay.
they should not make a final determination to suspend a kid, especially if it's like a 10-day suspension, without those parents already have been in the loop somewhere along the
Oh,
line.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Those parents would be in the loop. Absolutely, they would be. Before we always call before we impose. We'll say your son or daughter has been involved in an incident, et cetera, et cetera. We need you to come to the school. This will be a 10-day suspension because of this, and this finding, because we've investigated. We don't include a parent in the decision-making of what the consequence is. We don't include a parent on that. They're not part of that decision-making because that's why we hire administrators. If they want to appeal it, they always have that choice. They have the choice to appeal to the building level principal. If they're not happy with that, they appeal it then to the director of student services. If they're not happy with that, they appeal to the superintendent. And if they're not happy with that, then they appeal to the board of ed.
Right, and that's
Right.
that's where we're coming from. We've had some very high
Yes.
profile cases where the decision was overturned.
But by that time, they've already served their 10-day suspension.
Right.
So what do you really gain by the appeal? If they had the opportunity to appeal all that before they had to serve their 10 days, then that would be something. But if they've already served their 10 days, what are they really gaining by appealing to us?
Is it always a mandatory 10 days, or can it be pending a conference with the parents?
That's what I would
Now
like to
it
see.
is maybe up to 10 days.
It says maybe
Maybe.
up to 10
It
days.
So
used
you
to
can
say
do a pending
10
conference, they
days.
come in 3 days, you settle it, they're back in school, which we want them back in
Correct.
school.
We want
Unless
them
you bring a real weapon, then you're automatically suspended
Yes,
at
I
least
agree with
one
that.
day.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
That's different. Because we want the kids in
The
school,
goal
we
is
don't
to-
want them sitting home.
They go sit home, they play Xbox all day. They're really punishing the parents, not the kids.
It says may. If you look at D, letter V, may
Mhm.
remove the student from the school setting as quickly, as safely
Just
as
wanted to hear
possible. Will make it's,
You know, we just were trying to affect the
Yeah.
culture change, and what's the best, it may be, you know, in not all schools, we did not need a culture change, but in some schools apparently, or here at central office, there was the reaction that you needed to conduct a very antiseptic, investigation, and, you know, sometimes the kids suffered, and we don't want that.
correct.
We don't want that, and so we just need to make that just a little bit more of a sensitive process at the younger ages.
Absolutely.
That's all I was trying to, you know, so if it involving the parents a little bit earlier in the process, but I agree, if you call a parent and say, we are looking at a potential 10-day suspension, but we haven't got this answer, or this answer, then, you know.
You could still notify the
It's not
parents
a-
that say, look, we're not done with our investigation. You can't come to the school yet until we notify you again. But at least you've notified them.
I can't tell a parent
Yeah.
they can't come to the school.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
If I say that to a parent would be I would be up.
Well, they can come to the school, but they're going to have to wait.
They own the schools.
But a parent could come to the school and withdraw their student from the classes in the middle of the investigation.
Absolutely.
There's nothing, you can't compel them not to take their
I'm
child.
thinking more on the elementary level is where it's
And
more
I
sensitive.
understand that, the sensitivity of the
Yeah.
elementary school. I understand that. I'm just asking you and the public to have
give
faith
input.
in our administrators that we have changed the policy, we have changed procedures, we are giving latitude to our administrators, that it's no longer cut and dry, that it's no longer zero tolerance. We are looking at all pieces of it. We're looking to make sure we're doing what is right for that child.
Anyway, if they handle the case with sensitivity, I think you will minimize the problems. That's the way I feel about it. Okay, anything else? All right, on it.
Okay, thank you.
Enrollment reports, who's doing that? You
Me,
doing that? You.
that's me again.
Good.
Okay.
You're doing everything today.
September 30th, our official count, our FTEs were 15,817.75.
And that's up, right?
No, that is not up. Our projection was 15,940. When we look at our September count, we're at 15,861, so we have actually enrolled, since September 30th, we have enrolled 44 more students. Now, where exactly those students are, I couldn't tell you where.
Since September
but
30th.
Yes,
Yeah,
since
that's, they're
September
in,
30th.
So we're
they're
not
in
getting money.
Barstow and Calvert for two of them. I think there's 30
Correct.
of
What
them.
do you mean we're not getting the money?
All right, that's-
Because our official count of
September
September
30th 's it.
30th, that's it.
Oh,
if you-
So I would like
what's wrong?
to see all of our high schools drop from September 30th. I would like to ask, if it's possible, to find out in any one particular month how many of this reduction in enrollment is from dropouts.
Okay, you want dropouts from the high schools?
Yes.
Enrollment drop from dropouts from high schools. And I also included, you would like to have the September 30th count included
Yes.
for each school?
Yes.
So that there's a comparison, so
Yes.
you can see where the additions and subtractions are
Yes.
in what schools?
Yes.
Absolutely, we can do that.
And the good news is that Beach Elementary lost a few, so
Yes.
that's good.
How much do we get for each student from the state?
From the state, we get $4,989,
And that ends September 30th.
correct?
So anybody comes in after that, we receive no funds at all. It's always been like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we don't receive any money for pre-K.
And we receive no money for pre-K, and we have
Yeah.
361 students registered in pre-K.
So that was a problem when you're growing.
That'd be a good bill to put in.
Good luck.
It's been tried.
Now, the county gives us $6,912. The county kicks in a lot of money.
But they don't fund pre-K either.
No,
Nope.
no one funds pre-K except the locals, the school system itself.
And you valued it out that if they did, we would make
Oh,
over 400,000,
it was
430?
$429,626.
But again, for what the
Close
money
to
we spend per
500,000.
child and for the results we get, we look very good in the rest of the state. Because we're somewhere in the middle of the pack
Cost-wise,
with the
but
per child
but
spending.
performance-wise,
Performance-wise, we look very good.
Really and truly, Calvert County gets a very good bang for their buck for as
They
much
sure
money
do.
that they put per pupil expenditure. They get a very
We're
good
we're doing it on the
education.
cheap.
Mhm, we are. We're doing it on very tight budgets, yes.
All right, is that everything on the enrollments? Finally, I think we have
Personnel.
personnel reports.
Good afternoon.
that's me.
Good afternoon, Dr. Carroll, Mrs. Highsmith, and members of the board. You have before you a report of last month's personnel actions for support employees for informational purposes. And in addition, you also have a record of proposed actions for certificated positions that will require your approval. And at this time, I defer to Mrs. Highsmith for her recommendation.
I recommend approval for professional and
Well,
classified.
you don't approve classified. You do that yourself.
You just did.
Okay, she just did it. Do I hear a motion to approve the appointments for the professional employees?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Malinsky, second by Mr. McConkey. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that looks like it. We're down to comments. If anybody wants to make any comments, we'll start down the other end. Ed?
Just best of luck to the Huntingtown girls soccer team and the Northern boys soccer team in their state finals this week. And I look forward to the superintendent coming right before Thanksgiving, or the state superintendent.
Thanks.
No comment.
I would just like to congratulate Patuxent High School for their Murder In play and Huntingtown High School for their Carpe Jubilum. Is that how you pronounce it? Both of them were outstanding productions. Should be very proud of those. I don't know how those kids can do their studies and do those plays, because it must have been huge undertakings. And I thought both of the sets were just amazing. So we've got some excellent theater going on. Also, the Destination College at the CSM for the 5th graders. I thought that was an incredible day there at CSM, and they do such an excellent job running them around, showing them different facets of potential college life. And the Bullying Summit that was also held at CSM. I think I look forward to hearing the feedback on that, but it looked like it was, again, a very enriching type, and where probably a lot of good conversation happened. That's all I have.
No comment?
No comment.
I'd like to piggyback on Mr. Town with the Huntingtown girls soccer and the Northern boys soccer, but the volleyball team at Patuxent High School girls, they're also going to states on Saturday at the University of Maryland. So, thank you.
Congratulations to all of our sports.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
got some good teams there.
Absolutely, we do.
And Calvert, I mean, my goodness, they just went on with everything.
Okay, that was a good meeting.
Northern too.
In Northern?
Northern soccer, boys soccer, who last couple of years they were really good. They didn't think they were gonna be that good. The team's so young. They're going to the states. Might have to get
Yep.
approval to recognize them too.
Well, we set a precedent.